Welcome everyone to episode 6 of the NEP Podcast. My name is Kieran and I'm joined here by Ben today. How you doing, Ben?
Hi Kieran, not too bad. I'm doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good after a really tough week. How's your week been, Ben?
Yeah, it's been really good. Definite progress that I've made this week. Obviously, at the end of last week, I wasn't even able to walk. So this week, I've done really, really well. I've kept up with the stretching. Currently icing at the moment, but I'm trying to ice at least three times a week. And then keeping up with strength and conditioning at least 2 times a week with core on Wednesday. Main progress for me is being off the bike. So being able to have off my feet onto 2 wheels, and I've been using that as part of the 1-to-1 sessions. So it's been really nice to sort of just relax with my shins a bit, just take a bit of pressure off. Hopefully I'll be running at the end of this week, or if not later in next week. How have you found your week, Kieran?
Yeah. Tough, very tough. Really, really difficult, really, in terms of all the miles I've done, and try to combine that with work. Really testing. There's been points in the week where I've really doubted what the hell I'm doing. Overall, I ended up doing 135 miles, which I think's left a bit of damage. Mentally, not physically.
Oh, you found the high mileage?
Oh, I think it's it's my choice. My choice, of course. A lot of people saying I'm possibly doing a bit too much. I'm obviously involving my job within that. So it's not like I'm going out in my own time running that. That's sort of around work. I'm managing to add in the quality sessions, which I think is possibly tipping me over the edge more so than before. On Sundays, I'm doing a really high quality marathon workout. Last Sunday gone, I did overall the first 10 miles at easy pace, and then second 10 miles at goal marathon pace, which ended up being 5:18 minutes per mile, which is quite tough. So that sort of leaves a scar. Really, really tough, really. I mean, I've worked 80 hours a day.
It's impressive.
And ran 130 miles a week.
It's very impressive. I mean, obviously, you had your Sunday as part of a workout, which not many athletes do. The idea is as a long run or just an easy run to tick over the miles. But obviously now you've got your marathon planned in the next few months, and you need to get your marathon specific work in.
Yeah, like most people take the long run as an easy pace Sunday social run. But if you ask Mark, Craig, and Darren this Sunday, it was far from a social run. We involve in that as a specific workout, quite a tough workout each week, which I'm actually starting to get nervous for every Sunday. Quite fun. But the marathon's a beast, and you've got to respect the marathon in every way, because it'll destroy you if you don't prepare properly. So.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you've prepared absolutely fantastic so far, especially with the miles you're doing.
Preparing. Not done yet.
Yeah.
6 weeks to go until the marathon.
Huh?
Yeah.
6 weeks.
I've got 6 weeks to go.
Wow.
So it's very much in the middle of a hard training block, which is it's tough. There's no way around it. I think it's hard for me to recover, really, the amount of work we're doing here with NEP. And I probably haven't been the best at it. Obviously, maybe not the right choices sometimes in the way I go about the week. But it's heading well. I'm getting fit. I'm getting stronger. Getting mentally tougher. The workouts are going well. I'm hitting the right paces. The workouts been really exciting. Hitting paces that I've never hit before. S&C going well, which is going to be the main topic of this podcast. Talking about strength conditioning. I'm overall going really well. Excited for the next few weeks. Got some races involved within that sort of training block. We've got Croft, which a lot of people are doing, part of NEP and other clubs, of course, in the Northeast. Mid-April. Got Dream Team 10K in 3-4 weeks. 3rd of April. Got the 5 mile handicap this weekend. There's a test there. So we've had like a few weeks of sort of really solid training. But it's going to be exciting to actually put that all to good use for the next few weeks. So excited for that as well. Whilst in the marathon block. So maybe I'm not going to be in PB shape. I will be in PB shape because I'm fitter, but I'm not going to be in my best shape for these events until the marathon. The goal's the marathon. The rest of it's training. Although Croft 4 days before the marathon is going to be quite difficult. Still debating on how to do that.
Yeah, are you planning to go flat out? Or?
You can't not, but can't not, can you? But I think you've got to change out the workouts leading into that and around that so that you can run a fast marathon 4 days later. I guess it's no different to doing a session midweek, so see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'll have a taper like a week before or 2 weeks before, depending on how much you want. and then you've got Crawford as well. So it'll be really interesting to see how you approach that, and obviously how you perform on the marathon.
Yeah, absolutely, incredibly excited. What's your goals, Ben, what's your sort of target for the next few weeks as you're sort of coming out of injury? Reintroducing running into your schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that you're completely right. I mean, for me, it's literally, as you just said there, introducing myself back into it. I'd love to be able to just not get any pain when I'm walking or running, which would be the fantastic thing. And then sort of just building my strength up and going from there, really not being too silly with it, just building up a step at a time. I think patience is the word that you use there, which I need to start being more patient. It's obviously very hard when you see a lot of athletes doing so well and you're out for so long. It's quite easy just to jump back into it, but I'm being really careful this time. And I know that if I can get through it and prepare right, then hopefully I should have a really good, strong period of a few years string together.
A few years without any interruptions, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can see that smile off your face.
There hasn't been the previous few years, has it? But,
all right then.
Yeah.
All right.
Is there anything to say that we're going to touch on strength and conditioning in this podcast? But is there anything? I know that's one point. Is there anything you think that's caused these injuries?
Yeah.
Unlucky.
I think it's the volume in the week. I mean, obviously, I'm different to you. I'm more of a fast twitch fiber runner, and I don't tend to react too well to a high volume of mileage. So I think obviously jogging around with everyone during the day and accumulating that with weeks and trying to fit my own training sessions in, it's probably just a bit too soon, too much for me, especially over the winter period, which has sort of creeped up. Struggled with shin splints a lot when I was younger, so obviously that's what I've got at the moment again. So I'm never on the safe side of that. So I guess I just need to be careful with what I do and what I don't do during the day. But yeah, as you say, with the trend and condition, we used to do a lot, especially with the heavy weights in the gym, which I probably have missed. I think. Yeah, I've been doing it quite a lot at the moment, but I've probably missed the sort of heavy stuff, which we'll get into later on in the podcast, which for me was really beneficial.
You've got a squat rack just eating dust in the background there, Ben.
All right, Kieran. All right.
He has got a squat rack, by the way. He just hasn't been using it.
No, I do have a squat rack. I tend to do my cast with work on a Monday, and then I don't really tend to find time during the weekend.
Not good enough.
Well, I need to change it, don't I, Kieran? So maybe tonight I'll have to get the old squat rack out and get the cleaner and duster on it.
We stuck that quote out today. If you want something badly, you'll find a way. If you don't, you find an excuse, right?
Yeah, you're completely right. So I'll have to change it. Yeah, of course. But,
change your mindset. Now you're not the only one in terms of not taking strength and conditioning too seriously. I mean, I'm not exactly the best in some periods. I guess I would put running first sometimes. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that on this podcast. That strength and conditioning is a sort of an area of training that some people do it, some people love it and do a lot of it. Some people do bits but not enough. Some people completely avoid it, think it's rubbish. Some people know it's good for them but avoid it as well. Yeah, we're all in one of those categories really. So this podcast just to sort of offer our perspective on strength and conditioning training, why you need to implement it in your training, how to have fun doing it, how to do it depending on different events you do, and just looking at how it's sort of evolved over the years. So yeah, we'll start off with our sort of perspective on strength and conditioning. So if you want to go for it, Ben, sort of when as you've got older and trained, and what's been your experiences of it through university and all that, and
yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, I'm currently doing if people don't know, I'm currently doing my third year at Teesside University as part of a coding science course. And I learned a lot, especially over the last 3 years, about strength and conditioning, and not just why to do it, but also how to do it. I think that's why a lot of athletes tend not to do it, just simply because they don't know how to do it. So for me, it was really interesting to see how you not just do it, but also how you adapt it into your training schedule. Because it is as it says in the tin, it's a workout. It's not just something on the side; it is part of your training program, and the importance of it is so crucial, especially for those on the other ends of the continuum for your very fast speed stuff and your longer efforts. So yeah, I learned a lot over the last 3 years, and I sort of started to implement it into my own training, especially over 2019, where I was running really, really well. Obviously, Kieran, you helped out with that as well. We used to do it together. For all this COVID stuff in the gym. So yeah, for me, I really benefited from it. it's just building week on week on week and getting stronger. You can definitely feel the benefits, especially when you're running around a track. And if you do the right strength and conditioning for your event, then you can seriously change your running perspective. It's just a shame that a lot of people, A, don't know about it, B, don't know the benefits, and C, don't really know how to do it.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons, isn't there, why some people like it more than others. And so it's something that's evolved over the years. I would say it's fairly new in terms of knowing the benefits of it, and some, like, I would say more of the elite athletes taking it up in the training. Sort of 60s, 70s, 80s, I think people opted more for mileage, and they would go for more miles in a week is their performance advantage. And then I think the likes of Zebco, Cram, introduced more of the heavyweight style training in the 80s, and that sort of caught on with some people. And I would already say until the 2000s, late 2000s, that people and sports scientists started implementing it in training regimes, and we're learning the benefits of it. There's been more studies in the last probably 15 years than there was in the last 100 years. So it's definitely of interest. If you look at like some more Farah and the Oregon Project, minus the other bits on the side, it's definitely worked for them. It's definitely working in a lot of the training camps around the world. And I know if we look at the sort of club athletics in the UK, you might have a session that you do in your club maybe once a week. I'd be very surprised if you're doing it more than once a week. Before COVID, there's a session instead of a running session, because I guess running sessions will take more of the prime focus. Of course, here we're doing it in Zoom 3 times a week. You used to do it 4 when we could have more time on Saturday. But we definitely implement it across the week, every other day really. We are recommending strength conditioning workouts across the board. Zoom's been fantastic for that.
Yeah, it really, really has. It's been accessible for a lot of people to literally just jump on the screen. I think that's what you say, Kieran, about one of the things is that it's the time, the schedule, especially for recreational runners who, maybe work, for example, a 9 to 5 job. They'll go for a run, say, from 5:30 to 6:30, and then you've got a family to run as well, and you've got other commitments. It is it can be quite tough to fit your strength and conditioning work in, but if you schedule it right, I mean, generally you can do a strength and conditioning routine within 25-30 minutes of your time if you do it efficiently and properly. So yeah.
And what is a strength and conditioning routine? So for someone who's new to this, or someone who doesn't really know much about it, what is strength conditioning?
Yeah, so strength and conditioning is basically any exercise that provides any sort of resistance or any sort of challenge to the muscles, and ultimately to improve your muscle efficiency and the strength of your muscles. So just for a general example, squats, for example, you can use either body weight or you could use a higher weight within your squats, but basically it's implementing a certain set and reps of that particular exercise in able to improve your form, but also improve your muscle strength.
Good point. And it's not something you need to do loads of in a week either. Like for myself, I'm only really doing it twice a week for 40 minutes. And I try to get some extra core work in there as well. And it's event specific, of course, as well. So someone who's training for mile, middle distances, compared to someone who's training for marathon is completely different in terms of what you need to be doing and how much you need to be doing of it. Because of course, running itself is strength conditioning. So the more you run, the more your body adapts to the stresses of running, right? However, running alone isn't enough to get the strength benefit of being a strong runner to resist injury. So you need to add on weight training, resistance, as Ben said. So when you're running, you're producing a certain amount of force, but when you're strength training, you're producing more force. So it's training your body to cope with higher stress loads. So that's going to prevent injury, and it's going to enable you to produce more force, more power to run faster. So there's not only the reduce of injury aspect, you've also got the improvements in performance and getting faster. So it's not just as a prevention mechanism, it's also a performance advantage. I think that's important.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I mean. Think of it as a car. You've got a certain amount of acceleration, and if you can improve the body's ability to produce more force, then your accelerations or your acceleration limit's going to go higher. Which means ultimately you can turn over a faster speed in your sessions, which then improves performance. So and it's massively proven within science and within literature research, especially over the last 20 years. As you said, Kieran's been massive breakthroughs.
We need more Lamborghinis, don't we, than Fords?
Yeah. But your car last time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So event specific. If we look at it from event specific, I guess most people listening to this podcast probably going to be right in the middle, 5K, 10K training, lovers of parkrun, Lovers of the 5K. We might have some marathoners on here. Might have some ultra marathoners on here. We might have some younger athletes or middle distance sort of specialists targeting the mile 800. So for those, Ben, if we start at the shorter end, what would a miler, a traditional middle distance runner, want to be doing in the gym and the strength and conditioning to improve their performance?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, generally the first thing you'd have to decide is whether the weight example, now that takes a massive effect, whether you do it A with a squat rack or B, you just do it with body weight. Now depending on how much weight you add, obviously there's a particular limit. But especially for the speed runners who, want to turn over at a fast pace and produce a high amount of force within a short period of time, generally the more weight you add, the more powerful you're going to be. But obviously it's dependent on the reps. So for example, a general rule I like to use, especially for like mile runners up to 5K, 10K runners, is like a 5x5 rule. So for example, 5 repetitions of a squat, 5 sets with like a 90 seconds recovery. It's generally quite good. It's a good balance in between sets and reps. It's quite short, but you still get the endurance side of it, doing 5 sets and 5 reps. Especially with a higher weight. I'm in UK and I used to use 70 kilograms of a squat, for example, 5 sets, 5 reps. You used to do towards like 80, 85, didn't you? But that was generally quite tough because I could feel the power on every single rep, but also the endurance side, I was tend to be struggling after 3 reps, 4 reps. And then obviously doing the 5 sets, I did really struggle with that, but that was really beneficial for me. So if you're looking for like a particular structure, I'd say that was really beneficial. And it sort of generalizes from mile to 5K, 10K. If you're doing like towards a mile, you might want to take off a few more reps and add a bit more weight on. Obviously, if you've got access to the weight, that is. But there's other ways you can make it more resistant. So, for example, explosive. You can add more force and produce more force through explosive exercises. Or maybe plyometrics. You might want to use that. Especially single leg exercises. Because of course you always run with one leg onto another.
Yeah, of course, it's really good at training legs in isolation. You mentioned the point about like the best weight. So, and you talk about the 5x5 ratio. I think a huge misconception about strength and conditioning is we've got to do lots of reps. The more reps, the better. Feel the burn and all that stuff. You don't want to be feeling any burn really, unless you're training your core. You can have that. You can always do that. You don't want to be feeling the burn. Core and glutes, yeah, you're building capacity, endurance, but most of your muscles. So when you're endurance training, when you're doing your easy runs, your tempos, even your VO2 max work, you're training your muscles aerobically. You're training the slow twitch fibers, right? Your strength and conditioning, you're training your fast twitch fibers, the other end of the spectrum. So we want to improve our maximum force reduction and our strength. So therefore, we need to add weight or make it explosive, as Ben said. But keep the reps low. You don't want fatigue from the workout. So a lot of people avoid S&C because they think it's going to take out their energy and their ability to produce good sessions in the running sessions. So it's going to destroy them for the week. You're going to have tired legs. We don't want to get tired legs after S&C. We want to improve our force, have a good recovery between sets, and keep the reps low. 5 to maximum of 8 really in a lot of things. Squats, deadlifts, single leg squats, the lunges, all those type of works. Anything that involves triple extension of the knee, hip, and ankle are the things you want to be looking at. You've got the other end of the spectrum, like I would say more conditioning aspects of S&C. So your glute work, so glute bridges, clamshells, anything resistant bands, all the things that you're looking for more time based and more endurance. These are some of the muscles that don't get worked in running very well, but also help with running. These, I would say, spend more time on that, so increase range of reps, but they don't tire out as much for the big movements in your running sessions, so you can do more reps on them. I think
you've made a great point there, Kieran, about balancing from the conditioning with recovery and saying that, if you do strength work, your quality of sessions aren't going to be anywhere near as good. You got to first accept that every single running session you do isn't going to be high quality. No one's a robot. No one's perfect.
Absolutely.
100%. And I think a great thing for us, Kieran, we used to do our sessions and then do S&C straight afterwards. So we kept our hard days very hard. And that allowed us to have our easy days really easy to improve the muscle repair over the next day. Because obviously if you're doing like your run day, strength and conditioning, running day, strength and conditioning, you're ultimately working every day hard over a long period of time. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a basin either. I mean, I can imagine a lot of beginners look at it and sort of see like someone pumping out in the gym, sweating down. It is not that whatsoever. It's high, powerful, controlled movements, which takes altogether on each rep around 20, 30 seconds. And it's not much, but generally, if you can add it into your structure, your routine, you do it correctly, you'll see massive benefits.
Absolutely, some really good points raised, and there's tons of misconceptions with it. And I think people go too much into it, do too big of a session. I think anyone who's going to the gym for an hour just to do S&C is way too long. Like, should be in there an hour and 40 minutes maximum. And a lot of that should be resting. You want to produce a lot of force in these reps. You don't want to come out with a massive sweat and burning lots of calories. That's not necessarily the point of S&C, because you're doing plenty of that and you're running miles. Increase your miles if you want to get aerobically fit. Your S&C is to get stronger and more efficient.
Exactly right. Yeah, it literally says it in the name: strength and conditioning strength. Yeah. You're not looking to produce the equivalent of 1K mile reps in the gym. You're looking to produce fast, strong exercises.
That's the problem, you see. I think when most people think of, they want to be strong for a marathon. So we talked about the mile. We haven't talked about longer distances. So 10K at marathon, pretty much the same, or even ultra. Don't get in the thought process of that you've got to do a lot of reps because you're running 50 miles because you're running a marathon. That's what you're running miles for. That repetitive motion gets you used to running at that pace, that marathon pace. Your strength and conditioning is just the same as a miler, but maybe not as powerful in terms of the movements, but you still want to be shifting a lot of force to develop your maximum force output. That's important.
So what about people, for example, Kieran, who don't necessarily have access to a gym or they don't have those high weights? What would you suggest for them?
Good point. I think you can either work your legs in isolation. So if you're doing things like single leg squats, single leg deadlifts with a lighter weight, everyone can get dumbbells or even use things around the house. Find something heavy. Your dog.
Yeah, just a few examples. I mean, some of the athletes use like dictionaries and even alcohol bottles.
Empty
Anything
ones.
really. Well, empty by the end of the session.
Yeah. Or you can make it explosive, as Ben said. So plyometrics. So plyometrics is another aspect of strength and conditioning, which brings an injury risk because it's very explosive. Normally done at the end of a cycle. So we may as well get into cycles now. But you've got to phase your S&C just like any training plan. So at the start, you want to start with very basic stuff. So if you're new to S&C, you want to start really basic, really simple movements, nothing complicated. Don't add weight or anything like that. And then as you progress through the training block, maybe a 4 to 6 month block, you want to increase the weight, lower the reps. At the start, it's just about getting used to the movement. It's not necessarily about getting used to improving your strength. It's about developing the skills to do the exercise. And as you move through the block, you want to add weight. If you can't add weight, you make it more explosive. And at the end of the block, you want to reduce the amount of sessions you do because you're going to be racing a lot, but you're going to have harder training sessions. And to have enough recovery, you need to reduce your S&C. And those want to be really efficient sessions, those S&C sessions later. They want to involve a little bit of plyometrics. Plyometrics is the most specific to running. It's bounds, hops, jump squats, lunge jumps, box, step ups, step downs, all that stuff. Really, really good. Really helped me in the past, although I don't do enough of it at the moment. But it does bring an injury risk, so you've got to be careful. You only need a small amount. We did that plyometric session in Zoom once, then we did way too many jumps. So you want to keep your jumps like less than 50 jumps a session. If you really advance, maybe 100 jumps a session across all the exercises. If you do more than that, you won't be able to walk for a week and you get injured. Remember that session?
Yeah, I do remember that session. I'm recycling in my brain now.
Yeah, it wasn't our finest hour, was it?
No, but I think it just proves that you don't have to do it that much. It's not something that you need to do 3 times a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. Just to get that.
In terms of plyometrics, yeah. In terms of S&C, you want to do it 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah, 3 times a week.
Muscles.
Yeah, you're right there, 100%. And I think one thing that I do want to mention before you sort of move on, Kieran, is you were saying about your cycles there, suspension when you're first starting. Now, in terms of your form, it's really, really crucial, especially if you are looking to carry heavy weights. It's really important that you do have the correct form. Otherwise, you can cause some substantial damage to your body. So, for example, for your squat, you want to make sure that your knees just ever so slightly facing out, with your feet facing out, back nice and straight, head facing up. Not going too far deep into the squat, not coming too fast up as well. Make sure you warm up correctly. It's really, really important. But yeah, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily know how to do that. There's lots of videos on YouTube from lots of strength and conditioning coaches, but obviously we can help out with that as well. If people are looking for an S&C plan.
Oh, yeah, I've been looking for two S&C coaches who can help us out on Zoom, Ben. I don't know if you know anyone.
I don't think I know anyone. No, sorry. Maybe
It's a good point about our sessions, actually. I think a lot of our sessions, we try to make them quite energetic and driven, but we should focus a bit more on the technique. We're going to do it tonight. This podcast going out Monday. Tonight's lower body strengthening.
Yeah,
with me,
it's really important. I mean, we have around like 40 athletes join us per every session on Zoom, which is fantastic. I mean, the sessions are 7:45 on a night, so it's obviously quite late, but just the commitment that people give to them is fantastic, just because they know how essential it is to run running. And the ones who have been doing it have seen the massive PBs. You'll have seen it all on Facebook. And the ones who haven't been doing it maybe haven't seen the PBs, maybe have a few niggles. So there's a fine line in the balance.
Yeah, and some people have life commitments and generally can't make it. Some people can't train at that time, and then if it's a recording we send out, then not quite the same. So there's lots of factors in play here. But what we're trying to do in this podcast is to tell you how important it is. So hopefully it can help inspire you to do it and fit it in regularly. And regularly is the point. We need to be doing it regularly. If you're doing it once a week, you won't make any strength gains. Doing it twice a week, you'll maintain and improve. Doing it 3 times a week, you'll continue improving and developing. So it's important to do that.
Yeah, I think it's really easy for these project athletes just because they have the strength and conditioning, the guidance on the Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Obviously the yoga on a Friday from us every week. So from their perspective, it's quite easy. But I can imagine for a lot of club athletes who maybe don't have access to that, and perhaps I can imagine there's a lot of clubs who generally don't do strength and conditioning, and maybe you want to know more about it. So I can imagine it is quite tough for a lot of athletes. There's also as well some athletes don't know about it. They generally don't know about strength and conditioning, and why it's so important.
It's a bit in that bracket of warming up, warming down, and stretching, isn't it? The things that nobody wants to do, but nobody should.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you go to a physio, isn't it? And it tells you what to do and you don't do it. It's like that sort of thing. Back,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never heard of any of them before. Yeah. Also, you got the other aspect of drills. So around S&C, of course, you got other little things that pop under it. Drills, technique work, biomechanics, stretching, and yoga. So, I don't know if you want to tell the listeners, Ben, about maybe the drills aspect.
Yeah.
Running drills. What are they? How often should we do them? When should we do them? And how does that help us develop as runners?
Well, first of all, I'd say the amount of people that I see at a park run turn up who don't warm up and just jump out the car at 5 to 9.
Yeah,
absolutely infuriates me. It really, really does. But yeah, you made a great point about the drills there, Kieran. It's everything. It's the first thing that when you go for your coaching license, and some people want to be a coach, that's the first thing they do teach you about drills. And it's really, really important. After you warm up, you want to replicate running specific movements that you're going to do within your race. That's basically what drills are.
I don't know what course you went on, Ben.
What do you mean? That's the first thing they said to us, man. What course did you go on?
I'm just saying.
No, but you're basically working your 3 fundamental movements, which is ABCs: agility, balance, and coordination. That's everything in terms of proprioceptively. That's everything in terms of proprioceptively that you're going to be working in the session, in the race that you're doing. So just very basic exercises. For example, I'm going to give like high knees, heel flicks, lunges, very basic exercises, but ones that a lot of runners often replicate because they know, they know it works and they see other people do it, so they think, yeah, I'll try it. But yeah, if you can replicate a really good running form in your drills, and especially when you're doing them after every hard session, after every easy session, it's going to really help improve your running form. yeah, cut that out before your running session. Yeah, it's really going to help your efficiency as a runner, and you'll definitely see form improvements. It's basically like S&C, but without the reps and sets and without the weight.
Without the fatigue, yeah. Something really easy you can fit into your routine. And I would do these before your hard sessions, like I said. Then any specific sessions, don't necessarily need to do them before your easy runs.
Yeah, there are hundreds and hundreds of drills, and I'd pick 8 to 10 for yourselves to do. And there are some, for example, I don't particularly like, and there's some that you don't like, Kieran, and vice versa. So I'd pick the ones that work for you and the ones that make you feel good. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an individual sport of confidence. You've got to be confident. What's my favorite drill?
Yeah.
It's fast feet with an alternate high knee.
Oh, it's awful.
Makes you feel fast and efficient. What's yours? Skips. Skipping
as high as you can. Love it.
Oh,
I always know if I'm fit or not. If I'm going to have a good session. If I'm skipping high.
Oh, nice. Excellent. How high did you jump? 4'2".
Not very high. High for me.
Some of the kids jump higher than you, Kieran.
No.
But yeah, I'd pick around 8 to 10 drills, complete the drill for 10 seconds and then an easy jog back after each drill just to keep moving as an introductory for those who, want to do some drills and want to learn.
Yeah. So that's sort of before your sessions, before your S&C session. Then after your sessions, you want to include some stretching, some yoga, if you're really lucky, some relaxation. We don't all get that though.
Yeah, especially with some family commitments, some people don't get the relaxation.
Yeah. So yeah, stretching is really important. And you were actually told then that you shouldn't be stretching by one physio, but then others recommend other things. But yeah, it's a bit of a minefield stretching, really.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's very, very general to the particular athlete. I mean, I think for me, it was the overstretching. I think generally stretching really, really good. Yeah, if you do feel yourself getting inflammation within your muscles or you do feel that you're overstretching, I just generally do it after a hard session. You're not looking to become a gymnast at the end of the day. And there are a lot of elite athletes who generally don't stretch that much. I mean, Kipchoge can't even get past his knees, can he, when he does a hamstring stretch? Or not too much far forward.
I saw him in the park the other day. He looked pretty good, though.
Kipchoge. Oh, yeah. Did he take a flight?
I took a selfie, yeah. I'll send it later.
All right, yeah. Brilliant. I'm looking forward to the Photoshop. But, yeah, I think no more than 4 times a week after a hard session is great for your stretching. And it's 5 to 10 minutes just working on the major muscle groups that you've focused on during your session, your hamstrings, your quads, your glutes, your calves. It's just general 30 seconds per muscle group stretch.
There's sort of a theme developing, I think, across everything we're talking about today, and that's like you don't have to go all in and spend a lot of time and all these things we're talking about. It's little and often, related to your drills, your S&C, your stretching, your running sessions.
God, yeah, 100%.
Across the board, like, if you do too much of anything, it's not good for you, right? Doesn't matter what it is. But maybe miles is good.
Yeah, I use this analogy with a lot of athletes. About the cake analogy, I call it. Go on, roll your head. I love it. But basically, you've got to have a right amount of everything to make the perfect cake. Whether that's your flour, your eggs, your milk, sugar. I don't even know what goes into a cake. But all the ingredients, you can't have too much or too little of one ingredient, and you've got to have the right balance and mix and everything. And if you do mix everything together in the right volume and capacity, then you get your perfect cake.
So does this relate to people? And I'm guessing the base is the miles, right? That's like your general miles, Got
to bake your cake on a base.
Yeah, if you don't have that, you don't have anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the icing in like when you race parkrun every Saturday. And if you just have the icing and then you got no cake.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think there's a lot of runners out there who literally do just go and race 5K every week. And
Sorry, for side tracks, I know side tracks. Yeah.
Well, no, you're right. I know we have side tracks.
You've got on the cake. I'm getting hungry.
I mean, you are right.
130 miles a week takes it out of you, though.
Oh, God,
honestly,
how many calories are you eating a week?
Who knows? Maybe I should track it.
Your mum's Bill knows when she's going to Tesco every week.
Is next week going to be podcast
food?
Nutrition? Yeah.
Yeah. How much does Kieran eat in a week?
Yeah, quiz. Yeah. Close to
Yeah, but I know there's a lot of athletes who are really frustrated, especially when they go and race 5K parkrun every week and they realise why they're not improving. It's because you're adding icing to your cake every week. You've got to add the main ingredients. You're completely right. You've got to add the main. You can't make a cake purely on icing, can you?
No, you can't. No. It
And
tastes nice, but it wouldn't be much of it.
yeah, although it looks good and it tastes nice, unfortunately it's not a cake, which is what you're looking for, which is your PB. Or it's that time that you really want to get that you haven't got in 15 years, for example. Or,
Right.
So you've got to have the right balance of everything.
Too right. I think there's a good bit of education in this podcast, and hopefully you can take a lot of these tips out. However, one thing we haven't done in a couple of podcasts is give out a tip of the week. So, do you want to go first, Ben? Give this. It could be unrelated to strength and conditioning, but a tip of the week taken into this week that you guys need to get on and do.
Yeah, well, I think for me, from my personal experience, patience, and I think a lot of athletes this week who maybe haven't had the greatest session that they wanted to achieve, this sport is a patience game, and there's plenty of more opportunities down the line. I think the one thing is just stay focused, keep working hard, even if you are having a bad few weeks. You've got to have a bad few weeks to be able to enjoy the good weeks. And it's not always going to be a smooth road, so be patient. Enjoy the journey is what I'd say. Not much of a training tip, but just in terms of a mental state, mental mentality.
Yeah, I quite like that. And sort of links into, I guess, the tip that I want to say, what I've experienced this week is that there's a few tips here out of this week. I don't know which one to give, but
oh god, I'll get the diary out. Go on.
If I give the tip of the week.
Yeah, tip, this week, not tips.
Sorry, I could give lots of tips, but yeah.
I'm joking. Go on.
Tip of the week is to not overanalyze one workout.
Oh yes, like that.
So we tend to use our workouts sometimes as predictors for race performance, which is a bad thing. I think you should never go into a session aim to sort of prove yourself or set targets, of course, for the session. But if you don't hit the targets, it's not reflective of your fitness. It's not a race. Your races are your benchmarks. It's your goals. It's your dreams and aspirations. But your training is just the journey towards those. And if you have a bad workout, you've got to look at everything that surrounds that workout. And some things you can control, some things you can't. Unlike you would on race day. So, for example, if you're in just a busy week, you're in a hard training week, you're not going to have good sessions. You're going to be fatigued, you're going to be tired. You're not going to hit the paces because you haven't got the energy. Tired from other sessions. And if it's just normal and you're not tapering and you're not priming, then your lifestyle's probably not going to be perfect. You probably won't eat exceptionally well. You probably won't sleep greatly. And you're probably filling your week with lots of other things. Whereas when it comes to race day, your big goals and dreams, then you're going to really look after yourself in that week. You're going to taper down. You're not going to have any hard sessions, and things are going to be completely different. So always expect a performance improvement when you at your goal, at your peak, at your race. You won't expect it in your training weeks. You should have very, very average training weeks in comparison to what you want to achieve.
Yeah, I think it's safe. For example, you're doing 3 hard sessions a week. I mean, you could be running an example, just for argument's sake, 17-minute 5K, 18-minute 5K, 90-minute 5K. And if you're overanalyzing every single one of them sessions, you think, oh God, I'm getting slower from that session. I've got another minute slower after a 5K. And it's not the case. You're just going through phases of overtraining, fatigue, and just generally just not feeling good in the day. So yeah, don't overanalyze what you're doing and what you necessarily perform in your pace. It doesn't mean you're going to replicate that. And you might run faster.
It jumps back to being consistent. Just be consistent every day, day in, day out, every week, every month. And eventually you'll end up somewhere where you probably want to be. I think
yeah. Train smart, not hard.
Exactly, train smart, not hard. It's a good way to end the podcast, I think.
It is, yeah.
Have an amazing week, everyone. We look forward to seeing the 5-mile handicap results. That's going to be pretty good over the weekend. Lots of exciting events to look forward to. We'll put them on our social media and our website to update you all. And we've got some other news and other events coming after spring as well. But really excited for that. Keep up the good work, everyone. Thank you for listening. And we shall catch up soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone much. Thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll catch you in the next podcast.